Hello and welcome to today's special webinar event on preventing cyber attacks before they happen. Today's webinar is sponsored by Quest and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is David Davis of Actual Tech Media, and I'm excited to be your moderator on today's event. Now, before we get started, let me introduce you to today's presenter. That is Mr. Bruce Johnson. He's a technical sales consultant at Quest. Bruce, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing just fine and dandy today. How about yourself?
Doing great. Thanks for being on the event today. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
So most of my background at Dell. I was at Dell for probably a good 8-9 years, and then we kind of moved over to the Quest company. So I worked on anything from your mom and pop shops, your desktops, laptops, reinstalling Windows up to reconfiguring and building servers and enterprise solutions.
Very nice, very nice. So many years of experience. I'm sure you've got a lot of good stories to share on today's event about security. Before we jump into it, I've got a little bit of housekeeping to cover for the audience out there. So first off, we want this to be a very educational event. So we encourage you to use the questions box in the GoToWebinar control panel there. We'll be answering your questions throughout the event. Bruce and I have solicited a number of questions already from the audience. And so we'll be covering those first, and then after those questions, we'll be covering as many of the questions that are asked live on today's event as that we can get to. And then second, at the end of the webinar, we'll be awarding a $300 Amazon gift card to one lucky attendee on the live event today. If you're watching this event on demand, I'm sorry, the drawing has already occurred. You can optionally donate the value of that gift card to one of our selected charities. We'd be happy to help you do that. And we've donated thousands of dollars to charity through the MegaCast and EcoCast and webinar events that we have done. I need to mention that the official prize terms and conditions can be found at actualtechmedia.com. Scroll to the bottom and click on prize terms and conditions. And then finally, I want to thank everyone for joining today's webinar. I hope that you learn a lot. Before Bruce and I jump into it with our Q&A, as a former IT manager myself, I want to give a little bit of level setting here, before we get started. So when it comes to the state of security in IT organizations today, I have to say it's pretty scary, pretty frightening. The statistics here that we've found are that the average cost of a data breach is over $7 million, and that's an average cost. And I mean, that's more than the revenue for many small businesses. It's a very expensive thing, to hit your company if you should be attacked with one of these data breaches. And it feels like companies are being attacked from all sides. Almost every night in the news, there's some new data breach that's being announced. So it's a scary time in IT for security. Something else that I learned recently is that it takes, on average, 196 days just to identify the breach. So you may already be breached, and it takes 196 days to actually find out that you are breached, and then another 69 days to actually fully mitigate that breach and get rid of that breach. So, you're pushing almost close to a year here to go through this entire breach process. And, this isn't something that companies have time or money, to afford in the IT organization. So we really need to do everything that we can in IT to help protect our company's data, the future of our company, and even our jobs in many cases. So the unfortunate reality is that the devices that your staff relies on in a day in and day out are really one of the most common entry points for a data breach. And that's why we have to ensure that they're protected with very strong layered security. And it's endpoint security, or endpoint Unified Endpoint Management, UEM, that provides this protection. And UEM solutions provide visibility into your devices that are out there. They take inventory of those devices, provide asset management, antivirus protection, patching of all those devices, re-images if one of those devices have a breach or are infected, monitoring of the administrative credentials, mobile device management, deployment of software packages, and much more. And that's what we're talking about on today's event. So here's what you're going to learn today. You'll find out the best way to keep your endpoints secure using a single tool. You'll learn about how to secure your endpoints from an attack with policy-based management. You'll watch a live demo of, in my opinion, one of the most powerful endpoint device protection solutions that you'll find today. You'll learn how to ensure your software licensing is compliant and it's maintained for all your endpoint devices. And finally, you'll get all your cybersecurity and endpoint device management questions answered from Mr. Bruce Johnson, today's expert on UEM. So with that, let's kick it off with today's question and answer session. Bruce, the first question that we have today is, what keeps CIOs up at night?
Well, like we were joking earlier, why didn't the ref call the call that pass interference? That's the first thing they probably think about. But
right. That's on everybody's mind. But when it comes to cybersecurity, what do you think?
Oh, that. Of course. Well, if you have KACE, hopefully you don't have to worry about too much other than, then you can go back to watching football. Several things though. There are things like, security, compliance, those are probably two of the biggest things, making sure everything is secure. Like we talked about, the data breaches, getting in, that's basically people are trying to get in all day, every day. So how do I protect all of my data in my company and prevent one of those large breaches, like we were talking about, like Equifax, like that one that happened not long ago, for example. Compliancy, not just like the license compliancy, but PCI regulations, HIPAA compliancy. They have to make sure they're content with all of those, and making sure they're lining up all everything there and having everything in compliance there, and security for keeping everything up to date, keeping everything locked down, making sure people aren't getting the things they're not supposed to get to. And then budget for all of that. Okay, you have to balance the budget with, well, what kind of tools can I get? What can I use to secure my environment, but not, break my bank too. So, and not just money wise, but time wise. I don't want to have my staff spending, hundreds of hours on that, every day in and day out to try and manage all this. I need something quick and easy to use to be able to efficiently manage everything in their environment.
Yeah, great points. Great points. I know those are top of mind for every CIO out there. When I was an IT manager, one of my greatest headaches was, shadow IT. Someone would go down to the local electronics store, buy 5 new laptops for the 5 new sales guys, and just give them to them without any company software installed on them at all, and just set them free, on the company network or on their local network. And then later, we would find out when they had trouble, it was caused by no patches installed, no antivirus, nothing like that. So I know shadow IT is a huge headache, and that's why UEM is such a big benefit to so many companies, to really lock things down.
Have it essentially managed, absolutely.
Right. So next question on the list here today, how much does a cyber attack typically cost an organization?
So, it costs in several ways. There's the money amount that goes into it, not just from, productivity loss, but then there's also, IP loss. There's, your public image. Again, I'm going to touch on the Equifax one that happened long ago. I think that one I read, it costs over $600 million. And just in legal fees and to upgrades, and again, like you said, they didn't find out about it until much later. So then trying to figure out what all the damage even was, that took time, that took money. So it could possibly cost you your whole company if you don't have everything secured. And by even just doing some basic things, it can really. And I think that one was very. Funny enough, it was an endpoint vulnerability. That's how they got in with that. Same thing with, I think it was the Target one that happened a couple years ago, where they got into the air conditioning system and leveraged the admin rights availability for a user account on an endpoint. That's how they got in. So.
Yeah, so many breaches are happening, and I've looked at my personal email account, and it's been breached multiple times at many different companies. So.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure many of those happened, from endpoints. So endpoint protection just has to be improved at so many of these companies. Another question here, how are cybercriminals taking advantage of endpoint vulnerabilities?
They get in usually, again, for the endpoint, they get in through, they send you phishing attempts. I see a lot of that. And ransomware gets in from, some third-party application vulnerabilities. I see that more often than anything. They open some Adobe PDF document or some Word document that's got some macro buried in it, and then it just launches in the background. So again, those third-party apps, also part of keeping things secure and up to date. And we'll talk more about it at the end, but that's part of how KACE can help with some of those things too, is keeping that part secure. So you can keep, like you said, bring someone with a shadow IT laptop that's not even being patched. They just click ignore on those updates, and then now they're vulnerable and they don't even know. So.
Right. And then, so once that workstation is infected with some sort of malware, if it has some access to, say, administrative privileges or important company data, yeah, then what happens? Is that how they're stealing that data?
Yeah, so they're getting in, and a lot of that comes from the local admin rights piece. That's a conversation I have with a lot of my customers. Is do your end users have admin rights? Some of them do, and some of them don't. Either way, it can be kind of a struggle, because if they do have admin rights, then that's more of a security risk, because then they're installing anything, and as well as any of these vulnerabilities, these malware or this ransomware can come in and run and do whatever it wants. And then the other side of that, if they don't have admin rights, yeah, that's great. Then now they're locked down. They don't have, even something does try to run, it can't get to the admin rights type things on the machine. Well, but then you're having to manage that from every aspect. So you're having to give every single tiny little update and approval, and every single thing they want to do, you have to go and do yourself. Who have to log in as admin and go run that. Great example is I had a customer at the movie theater, and every time they had everything locked down on their workstations, for like they had a timekeeping software, and every time someone to log in and someone accidentally closed it, they had to stop what they're doing, remote in and right click, and then run the software as administrator every single time. So we have solutions that can help with that, so you don't have to do that, but you can still keep your environment secure and locked down.
Oh yeah, that's great. I bet that would help so many admins, because I've been in that position before. You feel like you have to provide local admin rights for all these updates, and you're not called constantly for every little thing they need to do, but yet it's not the right thing to do. So you're kind of in a bad position. So I'm excited to hear how KACE can help us with that.
Absolutely.
So next question here: how important is automation when maintaining endpoint security?
Well, if you're not automating it, then you're either relying on your end user, or you're relying on hopefully they have automatic updates on, or you're walking to those machines. And sure, there's free solutions built into Windows, mostly Windows environment, to help you with that. But you may not be in a Windows only environment. You may have Mac, you may have Linux. You may, relying on, something that's not centrally managed. You don't have that visibility either. If you're, again, I'm the CIO, I want to make sure everything's patched. Well, I need something that can look at all my machines and tell me that. Otherwise, I'm guessing. I don't have that data in front of me to tell me, is everything secured? I need some way to get that out of there.
Yeah, with hundreds or even thousands of endpoints, I mean, it's just too big of a job for someone to try to, rely on free tools and cross their fingers. So it really has to be automated and done right. And I mean, how do you know? Does the Quest dashboard? I assume you'll show us this here in the demo in a little bit, but is there some big green checkbox, or I mean, how do we know that things are up to date?
Yeah, so we have a couple ways. One is a dashboard. So we have, you can see your critical patch compliance. We've got a big widget that show you right there. Hey, this is how compliant you are in that. You need more data than that? Sure, we've got the data. We've got it all in there. We've got reports built in. You can run. You can make your own reports if you need to have that across not just Windows machines, but your Macs, even your Linux. You could get a compliance report that says, here's everything we've looked for, and here's everything that's installed, and here's everything that's missing. But you could show that, yes, we are keeping track of that. We are keeping it secure.
Okay, yeah, and you need that not just for your own self confidence, also self in your job, and then also for compliance. Many companies have to meet with auditors and prove that yes, they have been applying patches on a timely basis and so forth.
Exactly, and I get that a lot too. I get people that's this week I had several calls like, yeah, I've got to show that to our auditors that we're doing our due diligence. that were matched. And if you don't, then well, they have to. Especially like we talked earlier at the beginning about like things like PCI compliancy and HIPAA compliancy. They may have to show that yes, I need you to show me that you're doing these things.
Absolutely, yeah. So question number 5 here, is it safer to re-image an endpoint if there's suspicion of infection?
No, that's a really good question, actually, because I was actually thinking about that the other day. It's kind of almost like a chicken before. So while imaging it, yeah, you know, okay, boom, it's gone. There's nothing on it to infect me anymore. But then again, you've also just, you know, possibly erased some of its tracks. So you don't know how it got in. So in some circumstances, you probably want to maybe isolate that machine first, and then, okay, what's on it? Like, how did this get in? Let's research that. Let's find out, you know, and then, okay, now we can wipe it. But even remotely, that's even better because it may be in some colo location, maybe in some remote village in Africa or on a shipping container in the ocean. Either way, we could have KACE solution could actually help with that. You could actually look at that machine remotely, see maybe what happened to it, and then go, okay, go ahead and let's just reimage that and wipe it clean. You could even do a DoD level wipe on the drive if you wanted on that machine remotely.
All remotely, yeah, that's very cool. I mean, so to make that possible, you have to have been using imaging from begin with and have like golden images for specific models of desktops and laptops. Is that how it works?
That's a good question, actually. So with our imaging solution, you could actually have one image that works with every model that you have. You don't have to make an image per model. You could have one that works across all of them. So you could have something that you could just blast it out, and then we store all those drivers and everything for it centrally. So when we image that machine, you could have one image, and you could have, let's say, a Dell 5510, you have an HP, you know, Elite something or other, you have a Lenovo or something. I could have one image, and we automatically know what model it is and give it the right drivers. So you don't even have to worry about what model or make it is. Really, all you have to worry about is who's going to be using that machine. Because if I have 5 different models, they may be all in accounting. So I could just say, okay, give them the accounting image. That way it's all predetermined, all the different settings, OUs they need to go into, the applications. We could just do that, set it up all for them all at the beginning, right there in that one image.
And I guess that also calls to my attention that we need to make sure that all the data is stored centrally in the data center so that there's nothing local on the endpoints. If we need to wipe an endpoint, we just, at the click of a mouse, it's gone. And the end user doesn't have to think about, oh, what about my local documents I kept there? No, you shouldn't be doing that to begin with. That should be in the data center. Is that right?
Right. No, and that's actually another good point too. So, and we have a couple solutions for kind of accomplishing, you know, protecting the data too, on the endpoint level. So, like for example, for the imaging side of things, we can do the user state migration. So we could just leverage that tool, copy their profile off, it gets all their documents and things that may have stored locally, and then we can just put it right back on the machine once it reimages. We can also do things with our desktop authority suite. It has the ability to do like file operations, and it can even set up folder redirection for you. And you could just set that up for everybody, and then it just automatically knows what group you're in and knows what servers to put you on, and says, okay, you need to back up to these servers and put your profiles. If let's say they say something to their desktop, you could just say, hey, look for any files that's in their profile. If it's recent, then go ahead and been changed, go ahead and upload that to their Z drive or whatever the network drive is. So you could automate all that for them so they can give them peace of mind so they don't lose that data off the machine.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, that makes life a lot easier, and you don't have to get those angry calls from end users.
Oh, yes. Where's my, I worked on this sales presentation for weeks and now it's gone.
That's right. That's right.
I'm done for. No worries. No worries. I got you back.
Okay. So next question here, when it comes to BYOD and Internet of Things, how is that impacting endpoint security?
So that's another good one. So with BYOD, you know, people are going to be bringing, anytime someone brings something from home, you have to wonder what they did with it at home and what they're bringing into your network. So you need to have some level of protection at least. And for BYOD devices, you know, you get your iOS and Android devices and things, say, for example, you want to have some measure of security on there. If not, depending on your environment, you may need a lot. But I mean, even just saying, okay, you can access my Wi-Fi network, but you at least need to have a passcode on your phone. Some people don't even have that. So doing things, even just simple things like that, can prevent people from trying to get into their phones if they have company data on them and try and access that data. And then as well as that, it's like just accessing the network. Let's say that person is leaving. You could remove all of their company data and leave their personal data alone on that. So having those abilities there, and not even just that, but also just knowing what's on their devices. I may need to know that, like, what kind of applications do you have? How is your settings configured? If not, I need to remediate that and be able to adjust those changes for you.
Right. So if somebody brings a laptop that has like a keystroke logger on it, I mean, you don't want them accessing any application on the company network. So your the KACE solution, I guess, has the ability to interrogate the applications that are on that system.
In a way, yes. So you can kind of give it a list of things you know for sure you don't want it to have. But something like a keylogger, some of that may kind of cross over to the antivirus realm of things. But you could say something like, if it has certain things about it, then you could just say don't allow it to run. We do have some blacklisting capability in our software, so you could do something like that too. And if it has the word logger in the name, then hey, block it out. But if it's some obscured thing, it's maybe something like we're almost at the hash level, and that an antivirus may need to do too. But there are things in there that you can arm yourself with, though, to protect yourself against known threats for some of that stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, you at least have the ability to make sure that they have some antivirus software on their system. Yeah. Yeah.
Good question. And actually, I've had several customers tell me, hey, can I just have this? I want this to notify me if, maybe my machines don't have antivirus on them. And I can do that. I can say, if you don't have antivirus, then send me an email of all the machines that don't. And why even do that? Why not go a step further? You could just target those machines at a software distribution job and just push my antivirus out. So if you don't have it, let me know. But hey, go ahead and just push that software to them. That way I know they're secured now. They have that software on their machine.
Right. Okay. Let's see. Next question here. How important is it to ensure that the correct end users have the right administrative privileges?
So admin rights, and we touched a little bit on this a little ago, but I mean, it's always a double-edged sword. If they have admin rights, then they're going to install all the junk under the sun. They're going to have all the toolbars ever. They're going to have like 17 toolbars installed and like 1,000 notification tray icons running. So for one, that can cause performance issues, which can cause loss of productivity. And then if it's breaking something, and then the AT guy has to go take time out of his day to come and clean your machine up or re-image it. So that's just the tip of the iceberg. And then there's the security side of things, which you already touched on as well too. If they have admin rights, anything that gets in on their machine, either through email or thumb drive or something like that, it can run full throttle. It can do whatever it wants on your machine and take complete control of it and start doing all its nasty things that malware likes to do.
So you got to prevent admin rights, but still give them the ability to do what they need to do to do their job.
Right. Like another good example of that too. Like I had someone a couple weeks ago. They're like, "Hey, we're starting to use the Adobe suite of software more, but that software installer, I want them to be able to run that anytime they need to." I could say, "Okay, well then just take their admin rights away." And then with our tool, you could say if it's from Adobe, or if it's from Adobe and it's this line of software, then let them run that as an admin, but nothing else. Or if let's say they do need something else, you could give them self-service actions right from their workstation to say, okay, well, I need to run this, but I don't have the ability to. It can actually prompt you, well, would you like to request access to run this as an admin? I say, well, yes, I would. And you can tell it right there. You get an email, it takes you right to a portal where you can approve or disapprove that rule. And then boom, they're off on their way. And now you've got a way to give your end users a way to get those rights when they need them, and gives you visibility and control over it without dropping the hammer and just saying, no, you can't do anything, or you can do everything, one or the other.
Yeah, and that's nice. That speeds things up so much, because the user also doesn't have to call the support desk and give their social security number, whatever it is, talk to somebody and then do a screen shadow and, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I'll just click yes on that for you. And then it's done. And that took 20 minutes, instead of here you have just self-service where it can be very quickly approved and you don't have to call anybody. I like that.
Exactly.
So next question, is data theft a concern when thinking about security?
Oh, absolutely. Again, we talked a little bit about like the Equifax breach. I mean, how much of data was lost in that? What was it like? It was like several million people. Credit information was out in the open that anybody could just go get. So that's a huge concern. Like, if that could have very well just brought down a company. Like Equifax is pretty huge, so they're still kicking. But a smaller company, like you mentioned, that breach could very well bring your company down. If you lost all of your IP, all my company secrets of how my software works or my product that I make is out. Okay, well now anybody can do it, and now my company's done. Or it could do, or it'll just be an image thing. Like it just could make your company look so bad that no one wants to do business with you anymore. That being the worst case scenarios, but on the other side, it can just cause more time. You have to go clean those things up. Even just a couple days worth of work to try and go and clean these things up can cost you thousands and thousands of dollars in lost productivity. So there's a lot of things to think about when you look at data theft. And I didn't really end that very well, but that was it. That's all I had to say.
Yeah. I mean, the big hotel that's in the news these days, I think it was 500 million records, lost, including people's passport information and credit card information in many cases.
Forgot about that one too.
I mean, I saw one last year. The city of Atlanta was shut down for 2 weeks because of ransomware. Cost them $12 million, and they had to re-image like every computer they had in the end. So
yeah, I've had my customers have that same thing too.
Some very scary, data breaches that are happening, and yeah, in IT we just got to do what we can do to prevent these. So next question, how important is it to be on Windows 10 to ensure endpoint security? Does that make a difference?
Yes, it's especially more as time is passing by. With the whole, and most of my IT admins I talk to are fairly familiar with this, but for those that aren't, with the Intel Skylake chipsets, eventually you're not going to be able to run Windows 7 on those machines, and that date is coming ever closer. I think it's like next year, like January next year, you won't be able to run it on any Skylakes or get any new machines. So eventually your old machines are going to wear out, right? And then you're going to have to buy new ones. So you're not even going to be able to buy new machines with Windows 7. So you're going to have to switch anyway. So that's one part of it. And the other part of it, from the security standpoint, though, if you're running older OSs, like I don't get them very often, but I get people that still run XP every once in a while, and that's scary because they don't make security updates for that OS anymore. So any new vulnerabilities are out. Guess what? Those are vulnerable, and you have no way to secure against them. So if you're on older OSs, the amount of security vulnerabilities are going to be more and more possibly, and they're going to be eventually not covered anymore. So you're not going to be able to keep them patched. And Windows 10, on top of all that, Windows 10 has a lot of really great just security features built into it. They've really kind of focused on that with the way they've done their patch management, which is sometimes good and bad. Some of their Windows practices, in my opinion, were kind of more troublesome. But the good point is that they really just focus on that with it.
Very nice. Yeah, it's good to hear that Windows 10 is more secure, and I'm sure they're focusing, more security efforts on it. So I guess that makes sense. And it's just an inevitability, really. Companies are going to have to update, sooner or later. They might as well do it now if they can afford the time and money to get that done, just to be more secure. And then last question we have here on our list is, how long does it take to get started with the KACE solution? What can you tell us about it?
So from what I hear from most of my customers, they get up and running, fully up and running within a week or two, which is, from what I have heard from other solutions, is very fast. I can have an appliance up and running, going, getting inventory collected within 30 minutes to an hour. Of course, I'm a sales engineer, but so I'm a little biased. But really, it is designed. It's a solution you can just drop in. It's an appliance-based one. It's a virtual or physical appliance, so it's designed to drop in. It's all self-contained, and you just start using it. There's not a ton of setup that goes with setting up the appliance. Even at remote locations, you can start patching those remote locations with things and getting inventory information from them. Doesn't demand you be on a domain either. I get the occasional customer that doesn't have a domain, and like I have an airport that they're all in a work group. which that was, you're like, okay, well, you're not centrally managed, but with KACE, that's your central management point now. You can actually pull those machines in and still manage them and have all that visibility and security that you need for those.
Very nice. Very nice. So it's virtual or physical. It can be a physical. Does Quest sell the physical hardware? Like you send the appliance with it pre-installed, or are you saying you install it on a physical server that you already have?
Yeah, nope, it comes all pre-configured. You just buy it and drop it in, whether it's physical or virtual, and we've got an option for it. We've also got it a cloud offering for it as well, so we got it as a service. So really, any flavor you want, we've got an option for it for you.
Very nice, very nice. So let's talk a little bit more about the Quest Systems Management Appliance. Tell us what it does.
It does all the things. I'm kidding. I do kind of preface things with my demos when I talk about it, though. It's literally like a Swiss Army tool. It does your inventory, your asset management, your software compliance, inventory management for everything, not just Windows workstations, but servers, Chromebooks, Macs, Linux, switches, routers, anything with an IP address. You can go out and discover and bring into your inventory and have full visibility of all of it and everything that's on it, track who's in charge of it, where it's at, what cost center it's part of, who bought it, when is it getting retired. Everything from start to finish on asset management we can cover. As well as the inventory asset management piece, we also cover, those mobile devices too. Again, that's one of those things with an IP address. We have a mobile device control and inventory available as well, all under one umbrella. So you can keep everything into one place and have one tool to manage it. Not, okay, I got a tool for my workstations, I got a tool for my servers, I got a tool for software, I got another tool for service desk. Because I have customers that have that, and they get stressed out. It's like, I got all these tools I got to maintain. I'm maintaining the tools, not the other way around. Or they're maintaining me, not the other way around. This should be easy for me, right? I should be able to have one place to get everything. And that's what we do with KACE.
Okay. So that includes patch management, whether it's just about any operating system and third-party applications as well?
Yes, that's correct. So Windows and Mac, we've got a feed built in that does your Windows and Mac, the operating system updates, as well as the third-party applications that come on those. I've even been able to do things with Linux through some processes that we can do. A scripting module that's built in. You can just have it go out and run different programs and command lines for Linux even, and keep those up to date, and even have both visibility into those OSs. Which is having all three. Being able to have a solution for all three is amazing, because I have customers that have very diverse environments, and this can kind of cover all of those.
And it doesn't include antivirus software, but it keeps your antivirus that you choose to, whatever you choose to use, up to date. Is that how it works?
That's correct. Yeah, keep it up to date. Make sure like it has the latest like DAT file or definition file, and then like we talked earlier, just making sure they have it. I don't know how many times I get asked that, like, I just need to make sure they have my antivirus. I need to show that it's on there, on my machines. This can do that very easily. We automatically get all the installed software on your machines, and this easily gets that. And then if it doesn't, like we said, we could just push it out to them and say, okay, well, if you don't have it, you'll just automatically get it. If you're on my domain, you're going to have my antivirus, and that'll show up in there. And then I can even see and make sure that services are running on it, make sure it's doing what it's supposed to. I can do some kind of things like that with it as well.
I'm curious, in a BYOD environment, how do you gain access to someone's machine like that?
So with something, when we talk about BYOD, there's kind of two buckets I put them in. One is iOS, Android devices, and then there's like the workstations, because they're different how you manage them. They got different backbones and how you're going to address them. So mobile phones, like with ours, you enroll the device, and then it puts a little certificate on there, and then you can manage it. With the Windows and Mac side of things, they have to have our agent pushed on there, and we have to have it's more admin initiated. They have to give us access to manage their machine. So in a BYOD like laptop scenario, they could say, let's say for example, actually this is one scenario I've had people do, is let's say they use something like a NOC, like a network access control software that says, okay, like SonicWall has this, for example, and we've actually done use cases with that with KACE. And said, okay, if you're gonna access my network, you need to have X, Y, and Z before you can access it. Or you can say you have to at least have these two things, and you can have limited network access. So one of those things could be the KACE agent. You could say, okay, you have to have KACE before Then you could put the link to the installer, they run it, and then that gives the admin access to make sure it has all the things they need and make sure that they're patched and secured. We can do all that before they can fully access the network.
Very nice. Yeah, I like that. So tell us more.
So from the kind of whole umbrella here, this whole colorful wheel here, we cover everything from the device itself to the end user's environment. So the device, like on the left-hand side here, we're dealing with the management and the deployment appliance. So from the bottom left, that's the beginning of a life cycle of a machine, right? You buy a bunch of machines, what do you do with them? You got to get them imaged, right? You got to get your OS on there, you get your configuration, joined to your domain with your settings and applications ready for that end user to use. Then it goes out into the wild, and then kind of rotating clockwise around the circle here, the management appliance takes over. That keeps track of its inventory and asset management information, pushes out new software updates and new software packages, be able to report on all that information and resolve service desk tickets with those devices that you have, all the way up until you retire that device, and then it's out to pasture, and you have everything done from start to finish, from when it's imaged to when you're retiring it. And the right side, this is more in the user's environment. So we talked some about this already, like when we were talking about the least privilege environment. That's the privilege manager piece down there, giving them self-service options to let them access those things that need admin rights. You can blacklist things on there as well. And then the desktop authority environment, a solution up there, this lets you set have a consistent set of settings across all of your user environments. Whether they're doing a remote session, they're at their local laptop, we're logging into a server, whatever it is, you can make sure that your security settings and all of the user environment settings are all set the same for everybody in a much easier way and have more granular control over those items.
Yeah, I mean, thinking back to a lot of companies that I've talked to, and when I was an IT manager, we had pieces that did these different things, but nothing that did all of this. And in many cases, we didn't have things that did, any of these things. So, we had one tool for desktop, remote access. So we had another tool for software inventory, another tool for imaging and software deployment, and then just tried to be as manual and as we could with enforcing the principle of least privilege kind of thing. So it's really cool to see all of this brought together. And then we didn't even have anything for devices. And so I bet or mobile devices, I bet a lot of companies are still kind of in the same position today. Is that what you see, Bruce?
Yes, I get probably my most common customer I get is they'll come in and they'll say, hey, like, we're using WSUS to do patching, we're keeping track of inventory in a spreadsheet, we're using group policy to push out software, or we're doing it by hand, and third-party applications are just non-existent. They're not even trying. It's on occasional one they'll remote in if a certain thing has to have it for something to work. Asset management, it's all software license compliance, it's all spreadsheets, or they're coming from another solution of some kind. But I get a lot of ones like those that are, they started small, and so they started with tools that are free or easy to use that didn't cost a lot of time and effort and money to set up. But as they've grown, they realized, oh, wow, I'm spending a lot of time on all this stuff doing it manually, or these tools that I just straight up can't do things, like admin rights. We don't have anything that does that, that's free or built into something, or being able to do like the imaging. Trying to do that can be a big chore. So having this is an answer to all of those IT related tasks that they do for all your endpoints.
Very nice. Very nice. So if we look in a little bit more detail here, when it says the systems management appliance, this is kind of the central point for the solution. Is that right?
Yes, this is sort of this is probably the thing that people are in most need of as far as managing their IT environment, is having the inventory asset tracking. No, you can't start doing anything unless you know what you have. So I can't go out and start to make decisions on things unless I have that information. So being able to have that in one place is crucial to knowing how to manage your environment. And then once you know that, you need to be able to keep it secured and keep it patched. So that's the other part of it. You can set up your patch schedules, keep your whole organization patched, from Windows to Mac and everything else in between. be able to push software out to those devices. You're going to get new software. It's going to happen. New software packages come up. You got to push out. Hey, we got this new requirement for this. We need to push out this new package. Let's let you do that to all your Windows, Mac, and Linux devices, all from a central place. And then things are going to happen. Things break. That's why there's IT. They'll always be here. We have a full service desk built into the tool that can talk to all those other pieces too. So I don't have a service desk tool and then an inventory management tool that's all totally separate. From a service desk ticket, for example, I can see the history of a machine. I can click on a button and see very easily, hey, there's how many tickets this machine has had, or how many tickets has this user had, or vice versa. I can view that all from a central place, and it's not a bunch of different data all separated. This all data all talks to each other and works together.
Yeah, that's a huge benefit too, having a help desk application built into this. I mean, because so many companies try to link their help desk to their asset management or software inventory system and remote control to manage devices. And so this is all integrated in one.
Yes, absolutely. And we do have customers that integrate. They have their own service desk and they like it, and they want to stick with it. Well, they can still link into our appliance and get that inventory information out and still leverage that, because our inventory and asset management and patching system is still excellent. So they still, hey, let's just leverage that. We'll use our service desk we got, but I want to use your tools for everything else. So we have different setups for different customers there.
Okay. And this is the dashboard. I know we're going to do a quick demo here in just a minute, so we probably don't need to talk about the dashboard. You want to move on and talk about configuring and deploying?
Yeah, we'll touch a little bit on the deployment side here. So the deployment appliance, this is basically the imaging solution that we have. So it's an appliance that's just designed for imaging bare metal machines for your Windows and Mac and devices. Supports multicasting, can do agentless PXE booting, can even handle remote locations, even if they're on a very slow network, we can still manage those. Has built-in user state migration things built into it. And the pre and post install task lets you customize your image. So you could capture an image, like a gold master image, and then your pre and post tasks, you could have things like join to the domain and add applications and run scripts and do all kinds of things. And they're drag and drop tasks. They're very easy to add, remove, or change on the fly. And you don't have to spend hours redoing a whole image just to make some small tweaks to it.
Yeah, that sounds like a huge feature as well, because I've spent days trying to create, golden images for many different models with different applications, and it's just horribly painful. So if you guys can really make this easy, I know that would help a lot of IT folks out there.
Absolutely.
And then what about the KACE Cloud solution?
So this is going to handle, this is your iOS and Android device management. So this is our cloud service offering for being able to manage all those types of devices all in one place, whether they're bring your own device or they're corporate owned devices. You can protect those endpoints that you have out there for those mobile devices, know what kind of apps are on there, being able to remotely lock or wipe those devices from a central management point. And it directly integrates with our management appliance. So you can see along with your management appliance doing your laptops, desktop servers, and every other device, you could link this into your management appliance and have your mobile devices listed there. You could even perform actions from there. So if I'm in my management appliance and someone calls me in and says, hey, my device was lost, I thought I should let you guys know, I can, right from my management appliance, just go ahead and wipe that device if I want. I don't even have to switch to another tool to do that.
Very nice. Very nice. So the cloud MDM is just for mobile devices. Mm-hmm. And this is a screenshot here of what that looks like.
Right. So you've got, it shows you your Android tablets, your iOS phones and tablets. You've got the different actions up the top right there: refresh, lock, set passcode, clear passcode. And under more actions, you can do things like wipe the device and things like that. So this gives you that central management over your iOS and Android devices.
Very nice. And then so this handles the complete life cycle of these devices, because every 3 years or whatever your time frame is, you're going to want to swap out all your devices really and refresh those. How does that work?
Yeah, and I kind of forgot the slide was in here because I already kind of gave my spiel on it earlier. But okay, well, basically, starting with the top left, you've got provision. So you're gonna image a device. You got to get it on your network. You got to get it configured for your users. That's kind of the deployment appliance piece, handles the provision part. And then as we go clockwise around the circle to manage, that's, now we're starting getting into the management appliance. So that's going to handle the inventory, asset management, being able to push out software. And then as we keep going around the circle, secure, keeping those machines patched, making sure the configuration is uniform across all of those. This even has some oval and SCAP scanning abilities built into it, so which customers love that. We put that in for a company a long time ago, and we've just said, okay, let's keep it in there because it's great. Like, people need that. They may have certain regulations that say we need to be oval or SCAP certified, so we've got that built in. And then obviously, like I said, things are going to break, things are going to happen to machines, so we need some way to track those problems on those machines. Being able to track, IT admins, help desk time to say, okay, they spent this many hours on these kind of problems, and track that information, report on it. That's the service desk part. And I've actually used the service desk too, not just for IT, but people use it for HR incidents. They use them for like purchasing. They use them for facilities management. So you could leverage other departments inside of this tool as well.
Very nice. Very nice.
Oh, I guess I should have had you click those over. Touch on those. My bad. I didn't know those were in there. All right, that's all good though.
So then, there's a lot of different solutions out there available, I'm sure, that do UEM. What do you think really makes the KACE solution different?
So one I think is, it's all in one place. We have one tool that can, pretty much handle all of your management needs and reporting. Like it says in there, like industry-leading patch management. That's true. Our patch management for Windows and Mac is excellent. So having that ability in there, it's easy to set up and maintain. It's got one-click upgrades. I can't necessarily say that about every other solution. Some of the solutions may require you to do very complicated upgrade processes when those need to happen. You may have to upgrade like a main server and all these other remote servers one at a time, and you have to plan all those out. This is just click, upgrade, restart, and then you're done. It's easy peasy. And also the setup part of it. Like I said, I can have an appliance up and running in less than 30 minutes, and then be fully configured with everything, with all your software jobs and patching and everything within a week or two. And then being able to have the license compliancy in here. This fits in not only with just people using everything within KACE, but we have another way we sell the management appliance. We call it the asset management appliance. It can even fit in with like shops, like, so for example, that are running SCCM, Microsoft's System Center Configuration Manager. This is a great complement to that, being able to do the license compliancy and inventory tracking within our solution there as well.
And I kind of honed in here on the KACE Go app. What does that do?
So the KACE Go app is excellent. It's a free app, comes with the management appliance. It works for both IT admins and for end users. End users can go and put in tickets on it. They can get push notifications when their tickets are updated. They can view knowledge-based articles. For admins, they can do things like barcode scanning. You can do inventory tracking with that. You can work tickets from there. Let's say you're a ticket technician, you're working a ticket, you can do all that from your phone. You can even add machines to software jobs. So say someone passes you in the hallway, oh, hey, Bruce, I need to get Adobe Reader on my machine. Can you push it to me? I could say, yeah, sure. I could get my phone out, add them to that job and hit go, and then they could have Adobe Reader pushed to their device. I don't even have to go to my desk. I can do that all from my phone.
I like that. I like that. Sounds cool. Well, it looks like we've got about 12 minutes left. You want to do a demo for the audience? I know they would really appreciate that.
Yes. So let's see here. We'll go ahead and have you hand me the ball, as they say in the WebEx terms. I know this isn't WebEx, so let's do this one here, and there we go. And
I see your screen.
Good. Okay, excellent. So first we'll start here with the management appliance. So from the dashboard here, we kind of mentioned a little bit too about some of those widgets about like patching, security information. Right here, I can see, okay, I'm 79% compliant. I can click that, go to report, and see, okay, which ones are, why am I not compliant? Or I can run any number of reports under here. And then I can customize this dashboard. Every admin has the ability to see anything they need to see as their own individual needs kind of pertain to them. Inventory tracking, this again covers all of your devices. This also has a dashboard to be able to give you a high-level view of what's going on with your inventory specifically, like disk space usage, what kind of makes and models, memory availability. I can see all my devices listed here. I can do very quick searches for them, look for service numbers, serial tags, people's names. I can bring those devices up and find them very quickly in here. I can automatically organize those machines and target them to software jobs and patch jobs, help you with automating all those tasks. And I'm going to kind of skip a little bit down here to the asset management piece here and kind of talk about license compliancy. So from here with asset management, you can track any kind of device or any kind of record of any kind. It could be a person, it can be a location, assets can be anything. So you can enter in anything that you want in here to be able to keep track of it. You can relate those to other types of assets, as well as the license and compliancy side. So I can see from here how many machines are using what kind of licenses of that software. I can see what the cost is possibly. If I don't have licenses for those software, I can track upgrade, downgrade rights, maintenance on those, all kinds of goodies in here inside the license compliancy. So I can push out software from here and be able to target all my machines, install all the required software depending on what kind of department, what kind of machine it is. For scripting, I can build out any kind of automation. Kind of works on a if this else kind of logic. If Java is not installed and it's not on this version, then remove any old versions and then install the one I want you to do. Or if this service isn't running, then start it and then run a batch file and then 12 other things I need to do. It lets you build out automation and run out in your environment. We have little wizards in here too to help you with some of that even further. So if you want to make power management changes, you want to change the desktop wallpaper or shortcut, remove software, this has things built in to help you make those processes easier. And last but not least, the patching. I'm going to touch on Service Desk too, but patching, this lets you have visibility into how compliant you are, what all is installed on all those machines in your environment. I can target those specific patches at certain machines, or I can say, hey, let KACE decide for me. I don't have time to sit here and determine who gets what. Just let KACE decide. Go out and scan those machines. If they need to update, we'll install it for you automatically. Set it to a schedule. You don't have to worry about it. You can even get updates to let you know when those machines are done imaging or done patching, and then you can have reports automatically emailed to you to say, hey, here's what patches are still remaining to be left, to be done. And that way you don't even have to think about it. You just automatically get those reports sent out to you. The Service Desk here, this will show you, all your different queues that you have. You can have different queues for different things. One of the big features about the Service Desk is this doesn't cost anything extra either. You can use the Service Desk or not. It doesn't change how much the cost of the appliance is. Whereas a lot of solutions charge you per technician, we don't charge them that anyway. It's got user download sections to do, approved software. Customers can go out, end users can download software. They can even have them installed for them, even if they don't have admin rights. They have a knowledge base they can view, which you can build out your knowledge base articles with a nice WYSIWYG editor. Your end users can go view those. They can rate them. You can view how many votes they've got, how many views they get. And then to tie everything else with a nice pretty bow, you need to be able to report on these wonderful things you do all day, right? How patched am I? What tickets are we working on the most? Who doesn't have this software? Are my machines ready for Windows 10? I need to see what the memory is on those and the chipset. All of this reporting information lets you view all those things. So say, for example, for patching, I want to be able to view a patch report, and I've already got one I ran earlier. So I could view a report like this and say, okay, here's all my machines. Here's how % patched they are. There's my overall of all patches I can see. That way I can get a nice high-level view there of how patched I am in my environment. Then the deployment appliance, this touches on the imaging side of things. So being able to push out an image to your Windows or Mac devices from a central location. This has a wonderful way. The way we handle drivers in here is it's very quick and easy. If you're Dell machines, you can just check a box. So let's say you have this Latitude 13, you just check a box, you click download, and that's all you have to do for drivers. We automate everything else. So drivers are handled. You check a box. And then once you have your image captured, you can manipulate it from here. So I'll go into like a marketing image I have here. And down here with these colorful little tasks, I can manipulate these tasks. I can say, okay, I need you to do that. Then I need you to do this. Let's say, okay, I don't need Adobe Air anymore because it's really old and I don't think anybody uses that anymore. No, I don't need to disable IE anymore. Before, I would have to completely redo an image and recapture it. These are drag and drop. I can just drag them over. I can reorder them very easily. I can even edit them right from here. So let's say I need to adjust the switch for this. I can do it right here. And I can share these tasks across all my images. So I can make one job for Adobe Reader. And then if I need to update it, it will actually affect all of my images that I have. Quick and efficient way to manage your images. And then being able to push those images out to all your machines. We can do device actions, so you can choose what devices you want to image. and say basically next time you do a Pixie boot, you're going to get image, and then you pick out what image they get, and then all you have to do is Pixie boot, and they'll get those images pushed to them. You can even schedule those to run at certain times if you like. Next, the mobile device management. So this is the interface of that. So I want to kind of walk you through that a little bit too. So from here, I can see everything about a device. I can see all the things that are installed on it. I can see, I can put them in different labels. We support DEP mode as well for your Apple devices and Google for Work. I can configure their email accounts, email calendar accounts. I can push out applications to those devices. I can push out, certificates. I can set passcode policies, kind of like we mentioned earlier. Just make sure you have a policy at all. But this lets you do things like, hey, it can't be so many. It has to be so many characters. It can't be ascending or descending. You can't use the last one so many times. You can push out iOS profiles. You can do different restrictions. So you could turn off the camera. You could turn off access to like the notification area. Anything you want to do, you could set up any number of restrictions that you'd want to do in there. Set of VPN connections, Wi-Fi networks, you can just pre-configure those on there. That way they don't have to go and configure those on there. They'll just automatically be there. And this does directly integrate with the management appliance. So all those devices that were listed over there, I can view those from here. So let's say I want to view all my MDM devices. I've actually made a label that automatically grabs all those for me in here. And then there's all the same devices in here, my management appliance, so that I can report on those. And then let's say I need to wipe that device or maybe just lock it. I can do those same things right here from my management interface. And last but not least, I'm going to touch briefly on the privilege manager side of things. So here I've got a workstation set up that's got privilege manager running on it. And let's say I need to install, I downloaded some software here that I need to run, but I try to run it and it's going to tell me I don't have admin rights. So I can click no. And it'll actually give me a self-service little prompt here and say, would you like to have access? So I can say yes, I need to clean my PC. I can do that all right from here, send that request off, and that gets sent to an admin. And then let's say I need to run this software. Maybe I've already got, and for this one, I've already got an exception made. So even though it requires admin rights with the little shield there, it still let me run it because I've already given it an exception that says anything from 7-zip you can install. And then this one has been blacklisted, so it basically can launch it. And this essentially gives me the flexibility to let admins run things that they're allowed to do and then not run things they're not supposed to do without giving them full administrative rights to a machine. And then from the desktop authority side of things, you can do things like you could have it run scripts, you could have it map drives and printers, you can have it configure their Outlook. Like that's how this Outlook was configured, was through desktop authority. You could have all that done from that interface, so everybody has all the same kind of settings, and it's much easier to manage out of there than it is trying to use some of the Microsoft tools that are out there. And I'll kind of show the desktop authority kind of setup here. So this is what kind of the interface looks like for that. Lots of different options here: power management settings, Outlook settings, printers, registry settings, shortcuts, browser settings. You can do all those user-based kind of things, as well as USB and device security. So I can control what kind of devices people can use, what kind of USB drives they can use, which exact ones they can or can't use, all from a centrally managed location. All right, and that's my very, very quick spiel of our offerings we have for the, kind of bring it back to the KACE little wheel we talked about earlier.
Very cool demo. Yeah, I mean, I love the beautiful interface, and it looks very easy to use. That's one of the things I see that immediately differentiates it in my mind from the other products I've looked at. Is it looks just very easy to use, very intuitive.
Yes, I get that a lot. The people that come from other solutions, especially like the management appliance, I'll be talking with them about that. And as I go through the demo and click and show them things, I get that feedback a lot. Like, wow, that looks really easy to use. Like you're just able to click and find stuff really easy, and you don't have to be like some kind of DBA expert to be able to find those things.
Right, right. Well, we've got, let's see, a couple questions here to cover real quick, and a white paper handout to talk about. Before we go, though, I want to mention today's winner of our Amazon $300 gift card. That is Michael Hunter from South Carolina. Congratulations to Michael. We'll reach out to deliver your gift card, and best of luck to everyone on the next event. I also want to call your attention to this white paper, which is the next step we encourage you to take, is to download this white paper from quest.com. Secure Your Endpoints. And there's also another very nice paper you can check out. It's also at quest.com, and it's the UEM Solution Brief. And I'll put both of those URLs in the chat if you'd like to check those out. You'll also get an email after the event to call your attention to download the paper that you see on the screen there if you'd like more information. Bruce, we do have, let's see, at least one question here I want to make sure we cover before we go. I know we're running out of time. I thought this is a good question Gabrielle's asking. What's the likelihood of a cyber attack if we follow all the best practices?
That's a good question, actually, because I mean, I see all kinds of different software, offerings out there, and security software offerings. I mean, you could spend, billions of dollars possibly on securing everything and still get an infection. So like, okay, well then why even buy all this stuff if it's still going to possibly happen, right? But the thing I look at when I look at, I think about that aspect is you need to have some level of protection. You can't protect against every tiny single little thing because unfortunately people are always involved and people make mistakes. It's just going to happen. But you can do your best to kind of make sure those endpoints are secured, having things, like having a way to keep all the settings configurable and consistent across all of them, having visibility into those different systems that you have. Those are some of the basic things you need to have, and keeping them patched, obviously, is one of the biggest things you can do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great answer. I mean, I know best practices are very kind of subjective. One person's best practice is another person's just, short checklist. And I bet a lot of companies out there that have been breached were following the best practices and still ended up getting breached. And like you mentioned, a lot of it has to do with end users and their devices, potentially not being protected, or they have too much privilege and they simply click on a third-party application and somehow get infected. So let's see. Another question here, last question we have time for is there a solution for this person has visitors that come in with their own desktops, their own devices as guests, and they need access to do some sort of training on the network? Could the KACE solution help in that area?
Possibly. The example I kind of gave earlier of using something like SonicWall alongside with KACE could possibly fit in with that kind of scenario, where they could say, okay, SonicWall, before you access, SonicWall is going to make sure that you have certain things. That would be more of a network access control type thing that says, they have to go through a little CAPTCHA thing and says, okay, I agree to your terms and services and to install this application, and then that would give them access to their network. But that could also be part of the KACE agents. Okay, you also have to have the KACE agent to make sure that you're patched, and we make sure you have all the, at least minimum level of patch is installed in your machine, for example.
Okay, excellent. Well, that's all the time we have for live questions. It's been a great event today. Thanks so much for being on the event today, Bruce. Thanks for the live demo as well.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And thank you everyone out there in the audience for joining us. Make sure that you check out quest.com, the UEM Solution Brief, and watch your email to receive a download link for that white paper. Thanks for joining us. See you on the next event. Have a great day.
Excellent. Have a good one.